What's going on, you guys? Welcome back to the Neighborhood Podcast. One host of the podcast. My name is Kyle Dabro, and in today's segment, we're going to go over the ongoing news that is surrounding Damian Lillard and the Portland Trail Blazers. As you know, Damian Lillard has been sidelined for the rest of the year from the Portland Trail Blazers. He's been out of the lineup for about a week. He was listed on the injury report on March 22nd with right calf tightness, and with the way that the Trailblazer season has gone, it has not been very successful. As of right now, they sit at a 32-43 record, and they are well behind the 10th seed for a potential play-in tournament situation. So, Kev, the floor is yours on this one. What do you think about Damian Lillard being shut down for the rest of the regular season with Portland?
I think it's probably the softest thing that's happened in his career. I mean, the quote reads, after this loss just a week ago, we've pretty much fallen out of the race for the 10th spot. I love to play, I love the competition, and I haven't been ready to give that up. But it does come to a point in time when you do stop putting your competitive nature out front. Last I checked, Damian Lillard was the one that was saying all offseason and previous off seasons he doesn't want to leave Portland. He wants to bring a championship. He's not willing to give up. He's also been hurt the last couple of years. And when the year started, he said that he's here. It's time. He scored 50 points. He scored 60 points this season. He almost scored 70. If not, I think he scored 71 alongside Donovan Mitchell this year. Two players to score. I can't comprehend. You go and you put out all this hype. You go and you put out all this media narratives of, I don't want to leave. I want to compete. I'm stuck here. I'm committed. And then you give up on the team? I don't buy the right calf tightness, man. That's just the Portland Trailblazers saving face. For you to go out and say that after a loss when mathematically at this point in time you were only 4 games out of the 10 spot for the play-in tournament, and again, at this point there was 11 games to go. If you're not mathematically eliminated, if you're not actually injured, there is no reason why you should quit on your team. You want this super mega max money. You want these extensions. You want all this glory of I want to bring the championship. You want to be on all these podcasts and interviews talking about don't let me win a championship. This ain't how you do it. I genuinely don't want to hear it. As someone who has always cheered for Damian Lillard, this is a terrible take for me to have, but this is a very, very, very soft thing for him to do. Yeah, you lost. Yeah, the team isn't doing well. You're the superstar. You're the franchise. It starts and ends with you. If you quit, the rest of them quit. So mathematically, I'm just saying hypothetically, at this point in that juncture in time, when this report came out, you're telling me that if you were shut down for the year and your team mustered up a couple of wins and found a way into the play-in tournament, you were just going to walk in there and play like nothing was wrong? Would you have even played? Because you would have had to change your stance on what you said. You would have had to eat the negative media narratives that would have just destroyed you for giving up, and the team did it without you. Oh, what? Now this offseason coming up, let me guess. I've tried hard enough. I've done everything that I could for Portland, but I think it's time to go. You turned 33 years old the same day I turned 29. We share a birthday, so I definitely know you're getting up there in age, and people have been telling you for years that you got to get out of Portland. It's not a disrespectful thing to leave. You've given them a decade plus of your career, and now you want to give up the year you start to talk about being the most committed, being the most healthy that you've been, having a very productive, almost all NBA caliber season statistically. All this talk about you being in the upper echelon of one of the greatest shooters of all time. Every time they bring up Steph and they interview you, you're like, I'm right up there with him. I don't see Steph quitting on his team. I don't see any of these Hall of Fame players quitting on their team. If you are healthy, there is zero reason why you aren't on the court. The calf strain may be real to an extent. Everybody's banged up and bruised right now. Everybody's hurt. You're talking about an 82-game season. Yes, if there's tightness, if you can go, there's no reason for you not to be on the court. This quote rubbed me the wrong way for so long, but between us being sick the week before and then the narrative coming out throughout the week, Kyle and I weren't really able to discuss this in detail, but man, I'm so disappointed that one of my favorite players to watch came out and said this, and for him to say this after a loss, it's just not a good look, man. And if Dame does get traded, this is going to be a bad taste left in Portland fans' mouths because, again, mathematically, you weren't really eliminated. You just had to hunker down and at least push for it, and you walked away. So, Dame, I'm definitely disappointed. Again, if you're authentically, legitimately 100% hurt to the point where you cannot play basketball anymore, I apologize. But from what it seems like, magically the calf injury appears right after you make this comment. I'm not buying it.
I think it simply just comes down to whether or not the actual calf injury is legitimate. Now, the way that I read this, granted, this report came out a week ago, so we do apologize being a little bit late on this one. But as of right now, the way that I see it, I think Portland is making this move to shut him down simply to keep his value intact for a potential trade this offseason. That's where I think this is really going. Because, Kev, we were talking about this before we started recording. Dame is 32 right now, but he will be 33 going into next year. And as far as I see it, there are going to be a boatload of teams that are going to look at the situation in Portland and they're going to get on the phone. These NBA front offices are going to be on the phone all summer, chiming into Portland, saying, okay, we know that Dame is probably unhappy with the situation in Portland. What can we do to entice you to get him out of Portland and for him to potentially find new horizons elsewhere? I think there are going to be multiple teams that are going to be in the fray for Dame. I wouldn't be surprised if the Knicks get involved. I wouldn't be surprised if the Lakers get involved. Those are just two teams in particular. I think when it comes to Dame's career in Portland, I think this is pretty much the end of it. And like Kev said, Dame's been there for over a decade plus. I think he's been there for 11 years, if I remember correctly. And the closest that they got to an NBA Finals was in 2019. They made it to the Western Conference Finals, fell a little bit short, and it's been on a downhill slide for Portland and Dame the last couple of years. They haven't been able to recapture that same type of run that they had just a couple of years ago. That was only 4 years ago. But the Portland Trailblazers have never really been able to find a solidified number two alongside Damian Lillard since CJ McCollum left. And I think this year, I think the absence of CJ, just because CJ was a very nice two-piece right alongside Dame, and when Portland wasn't able to swing somebody into the fold for that number two spot alongside Dame, I think it just brought down the whole team as a whole. But when I look at the Dame situation, I think Portland is keeping it safe. I think they are shelving him simply just because they're going to look at a potential trade situation this offseason. And they don't want to put him out there on the court simply if there's a possibility that he may get hurt. And that would directly impact his trade value, especially at his age. If we're talking about Dame at 29 or even 28 years old, this would be a completely different situation. But the fact that he is in his early 30s, there's only going to be a couple of years of what I would consider top tier Dame left. And I think they're going to hold on to that value as much as possible and shelve him for the rest of the season for some sort of trade down the line this offseason. I think this offseason, we are definitely going to see some teams definitely involved in the Dame sweepstakes if he decides to leave Portland. I think that's a very real possibility. And if that is the case, I think Dame will be out of there and Dame could find a new team to potentially go for something that he could not be able to achieve in Portland, which is an NBA championship. It's just that simple as far as I see it.